All right, good afternoon, everyone, or I guess good evening. So thank you for sticking around with us. I know this is it's getting pretty late here. I'm sure it's been a long week for everyone, but I hope everyone's had a good event so far. So my name is Andrew Wynn. I'm the Product Marketing Manager for Visualization Products here at OSIsoft. Co-presenting with me today will be Ryan McErlean, who is the Technical Product Manager for PI Vision. So welcome to Visualize PI Vision 2019 and the PI ProcessBook Migration. So over the next 35 to 45 minutes or so, we're going to be going over a few topics. First, we're going to touch on what is PI Vision. I'll be talking a little bit about some technological changes and things changing in the industry that caused us to create PI Vision, and then what benefits you're going to get by using PI Vision today. Then we're going to go over what's coming up with PI Vision 2019. And then after that, we're going to talk about building a strategy, right? Because when you implement a new piece of software or a new product at your organization, it's always best to plan ahead. And I'll give you some tips about what OSIsoft can do to help. And then lastly, Ryan's going to go over the actual demo of the migration tool itself. So first, we're going to go over what is PI Vision. Now, if you were part of the talk that Ryan and I gave on Tuesday, it might be a little bit of repetition here, but for anyone who was not able to attend that talk on Tuesday, it'll be some new material, and hopefully the repetition will be good for those who attended as well. Now, to understand what PI Vision is, I think it's best to first take a step back and look at the evolving world of data. All right, so you've probably been hearing it all week, probably been hearing it over the past couple years. Industry 4.0, new technology, new smart sensors at the edge. And up in the cloud, right, you have your machine learning, artificial intelligence, training algorithms. Right, all of this is bringing on new capabilities, it's driving new data. There's studies out there that say there's over 400 cloud vendors and providers. Right? So the question is, which one's going to survive? Which platforms are going to be acquired? Right? We really can't tell. And then, the number that I read last year that I found really interesting is that in 2025, there's going to be 165 zettabytes worth of data. So zettabytes, I had no idea what that was. I had to look that up. And to understand what the magnitude of 165 zettabytes is, it's the number 165 followed by 21 zeros. Right? So the study isn't saying that every organization or company is going to be handling and working with 165 zettabytes worth of data, but what it does show is that there is an exponential growth in data, right? And then the question becomes, how do you handle the data? How do you ingress this new exponential growth of data? How do you access, analyze, handle, and share that data? Right? So what we begin to find is that the way you access and handle and share this data is different. Right? We need a new product for you to be able to handle that data more efficiently. And that's precisely why we created PI Vision. Now, PI Vision is the fastest and easiest way for you to view your PI system data. It's our flagship tool in data visualization. If there's three phrases that I want you to remember on this slide, is that it's easy to use, it's self-service, and that it's scalable. And it was interesting, if anyone was able to attend TransCanada's presentation yesterday, right, they used terms that were very similar as well. I think they used usability, scalability, and maintainability. And we'll get into that a little bit more. But TransCanada they gave a great presentation. They talked about their implementation plan, the resource that they had to roll out their PI Vision platform, and as well as how to maintain it. So if you get a chance, once the recording is up, I urge you guys to go and take a look at that presentation. It's also web-based, so therefore rollout for IT and upgrades, maintainability again, manageability is a lot easier with PI Vision, and it's easy to organize and share these displays across your organization. Now, those three phrases that I just mentioned, easy to use, self-service, and scalable. Right now, let's understand what makes PI Vision easy to use. So it has an intuitive interface. We've heard from customers that a user can spend 15 to 30 minutes just playing around with the tool and eventually build a display for themselves within that time frame. Right, dynamic displays. When new equipment comes online, the displays will automatically populate and update with those new assets. Right, so there's no need to go back and re-edit those displays. As well as easy display navigation. So we call that drill-in navigation. You can have one dashboard, and by double-clicking into a certain symbol, let's call it a pump, it will bring you to another display with asset-centric information surrounding that one pump. Right? And self-service is big. right? Because we understand as engineers and operators, you need to be able to get to your data without the help of other business groups, right? There's no time for you to package up data, send it over the fence over to IT, wait for the results to come back, because that's too time costly, right? So when it comes to critical operations, those minutes matter. Fast display building, again, this is self-service. Anyone can come in and find the data that they need in human-friendly terms and build the display for themselves. And lastly, mobile capabilities. I find it really interesting. 10 years ago, right, BlackBerries, and then the iPhone emerged in 2007, kind of catapulted the mobile industry, right? And a ton of us in this room right now have a device in our pockets that are more capable and stronger than some laptops that are on the market, right? So Pi Vision takes advantage of that. You're able to copy a link, send it to someone else, and wherever they are, be able to pull up the display from any device, mobilely, tablet, whatever that is, and quickly see that trend for themselves. And lastly, it's scalable. You're able to reduce the number of displays. So we call this related assets. You can build one display for one certain asset. Again, let's use the example of a pump. Right, so for a pump, you build out one display with all the KPIs, inlet, outlet, maybe bearing temperature, whatever KPIs you want on that display. Right? Now that's one pump, but we live in the real world, right? Reality is you're not dealing with just one pump. You could be working with 5, 10, 50, 100, whatever that is. Right? But with related assets, you can quickly build that one display, and with a drop-down menu, select whatever pump you want, and that one display updates accordingly. So it's fast to roll out, and it's intuitive, and it's easy. Display organization. Now, in the case that you do need to build out more displays, of course, display organization, we utilize folders for you to keep that organized. And what I mentioned earlier, that is web-based, it's easy to maintain and rapidly roll out and upgrade. So if there's anything with Pi Vision that I'd like you to remember, it's that it's easy to use, it's self-service, and that it's scalable. So what's coming up with Pi Vision 2019? So throughout the week, I'm sure you've heard that we're introducing a few things with Pi Vision 2019. And the main item around this talk here is going to be PI ProcessBook Migration. Now, we're providing you a path forward from PI ProcessBook. We understand that a lot of customers have invested a lot of time into ProcessBook, thousands of displays, right, with a whole bunch of functionality there. And we're hoping that this tool can help accelerate your path over to Pi Vision. So Ryan's going to be going over a demo of that later on. So I'll leave that to Ryan. And then on Tuesday, we went over ad hoc trending. Right? This is a way for you to really reduce your root cause analysis. You can go to any display or dashboard that you're looking at, select multiple data items, and with one click of a button, send it to what we're calling the new ad hoc workspace. Now, those data items that you selected will go to that ad hoc workspace and be trended on an ad hoc trend right there for you with some min, max averages right there for you to really, again, to increase or accelerate your root cause analysis. So again, that talk was on this past Tuesday, and it should be published online already, so please feel free to go back if you'd like to see the live demo of that. And lastly, Streamline security for XY plotting event frames. In the past versions, there's been a few extra security and configuration steps required to set this up. With Pi Vision 2019, it's going to be much, much easier to do. Now, building an upgrade strategy. All right, so I'm sure plenty of you are aware that when you roll out new products at your organization, it's never streamlined, it's never easy. There's always got to be a migration plan to be put in place. Right, so what we are doing is putting together a strategy and best practices document, as well as some other delivery services that can help you guys there. So I broke this into a few steps here, and first it's going to be what business issue can Pi Vision solve? So I recommend that you kind of go back and tie this to a bigger maybe business case or business initiative, but then see if you can break that down and understand the quick wins and get your faster return on investment. Then identify the resources needed to upgrade. So OSIsoft we're going to be putting together 2 delivery services items to help you guys here. One is going to be a workshop around the migration, and what that is really we're going to work with you, either send an engineer out to you and then kind of analyze your displays, see which ones can be migrated, and then the ones that cannot be fully migrated, put a plan ahead and see how to migrate those in a manual step or with a few additional steps. And then we're going to offer another service that is the migration service itself, where we go out and perform the migration for you. So that's still in the works right now, but keep an eye out for that as well. And next step is the learning and adoption needs. So over the past few years, we've heard that training is becoming different. You don't have time to send someone out on site to do training for 4 days. Of course, that's a big time commit. So we've introduced the OSIsoft YouTube learning channel a few years ago, and we have great videos there where you can go on and learn some quick functionalities and some quick capabilities around PyVision. And we also have on-site classes as well. But what we're introducing in the near future is the new learning management system, and this is our online learning courses. It's going to provide you with the latest PyVision videos and then take away anything that's outdated, because it's just as important to learn new things as it is to understand what not to teach if that is no longer usable. Right, understanding product differences. Ryan and I are working on putting together a document to let you guys know, what's different between PI ProcessBook and PyVision. Some of which can still be done across products, but just done differently. Right, so we're going to provide you with that. And then lastly, determine which displays to migrate first. So of course, I think it's best for you to go back and start to categorize your displays and really group them together if you can. Right, the non-critical, low-hanging fruit, I would migrate those first. The ones that can be fully migrated with very, very minimal work that needs to be done afterwards. And of course, after that, there's going to be some displays with minimal touch-up, and this is just really down to formatting and the aesthetics of the actual display. And lastly, there are going to be displays that have symbols such as VBA, SQC, data sets, items like that where they will not be able to be migrated at all. There will be additional manual work there, and we can have a discussion and give you some best practices of how to migrate those forward. So as I mentioned, Ryan and I are putting together a document around best practices and strategies, and we will provide that to you guys. So keep an eye out for that. All right, and that's all of that I have for you. And thank you, and I hope you had a great event so far. And I'm going to hand it over to Ryan to go over the demo of the product.
Thanks, Andrew. And again, thank you everyone for sticking around. I know it's been a long week. It's the end of the day on Thursday. We're almost to Geek Night, but hopefully you enjoy what we have for you today. So you may have seen this slide already around the conference. So this is just our illustration of moving a display from ProcessBook into PyVision. Right, so we understand that many of you have thousands of displays, hundreds of displays, spent a whole lot of time developing these displays. A lot of effort goes into them. And so in terms of moving forward to PyVision, we want to help you. So our first step is to provide a utility. As Andrew mentioned, we're also working on best practices and strategy documentation. So Andrew went through the first step of that to provide an outline for how you can start building out a strategy in terms of migration and upgrading to PyVision. But we understand there's more work to do there. There's more work to do there as well that we can do on the product side to help. So we're looking for feedback. But for now, we're excited to show you what we have. So with that, let's dive right into the utility. So the PI ProcessBook Migration utility, what we're providing is actually a plugin to the existing PyVision display utility that we have today. So I'm going to go ahead and fire that up. All right, so PyVision display utility is something that exists today. It has 2 existing plugins, and here what we've done is we've added the third plugin to migrate PI ProcessBook displays. So, opening up the utility, you can see it's broken down into 2 sections. On the left-hand side is where you choose the files or folders that you'd like to analyze for migration. So that's really, that's the second step. First step, you choose which files. Second step, you analyze. And the third step is you move ahead and migrate those to PyVision. So I'm going to select a whole folder of displays. So what we're enabling here is moving entire hierarchies at a time. So by selecting my folder, which is called displays, the utility is looking underneath that folder and underneath any subfolders to see what displays are contained within there. I'm just going to clean this up a little bit. So as you can see, within my hierarchy, I have 19 displays. And in this case, what I want to do is I want to analyze all of them and see which ones are ready to move to PyVision, or I just want to move them all forward and see how they look in PyVision. So I've selected the top level of the hierarchy. So all of 19 files are now selected. Then let's go ahead and analyze these files. All right, not too bad. Analysis is completed. On the right-hand side, we have the analysis results. So as you can see, these are broken down into two categories. So I'm seeing both categories because I have displays that fall into both of them. So the first category in green is can be fully migrated. Anything in this category means that every object, every symbol contained within those displays is able to be migrated to PyVision. The other category can be partially migrated. This means that these displays contain something that cannot be migrated to PyVision. So in the utility, what we're looking to do is provide summary information and give you an idea of why a display fell into one of these categories. So as you can see here, there's a few icons here to give you that quick summary overview information. So I have one display here that contains an SQC symbol, and there's a SQC icon, as well as a tooltip to indicate that. I have another display that contains data sets. So I get a warning that this display contains data sets. And as well as there's another display here that contains VBA code, and it also contains a third-party ActiveX object, which is not something that we can move to PyVision because it's not supported in a modern browser. So we have a list of items that we'll enumerate for you that cannot be migrated. For the most part, most of the content can be migrated in terms of trends, display links, all of the standard symbols. So we're really migrating a bulk of the content. We're migrating everything that we can and doing our best to preserve the relative size and positioning of these objects as we move over to PyVision. But there are certain things that either aren't supported in PyVision or not in a browser that we can't move over. So we already mentioned SQC, VBA, third-party ActiveX objects, data sets, and batch view symbols. So, and again, in the utility, what we're doing is we're really just providing summary overview information. So sometimes this is enough, and you can make a quick decision and decide if a display is ready to move to PyVision or not. And sometimes you're going to need to do a little bit more analysis. So you might need to open up these displays to see exactly how these components are being used. You might need to take a look at the VBA. So what we're doing is we're going to provide reports. And so we have one report called the analysis report. So this is where you'll go to see more detailed information. So display by display, symbol by symbol, this report will enumerate any informational or warning message associated with any symbol in any of the displays that you've analyzed. So this is where you'll see that a display contains VBA. You'll see that a display contains a data set. This report will include the calculation for the data set. That way you can quickly take a look and see what that calculation is, what it's named, what it's doing. Maybe you already have that calculation somewhere server-side, and that calculation in the data set in the display isn't needed anymore. Or maybe you need to consider moving that over to server-side if it's a heavily used calculation, heavily used data set. I'll get to the other report type later on. So what I want to do here is take a look at how all of these displays are coming over. So I'm going to select all of these displays, but before I migrate, I just want to take a moment to show you that we're actually doing a live migration here. All right, so this is my PyVision server. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to refresh the page, and show you that here we have a folder called PyVision Demo. It's been sitting idle here, so we have to redo the connection. There we go. So let's see, I have some displays in this folder, but if I go down to my PyVision demo folder, it's empty. There's nothing underneath of it. So hopefully you're convinced that it's empty, and we'll see if we can migrate and put some displays in there. All right, so now that we've looked over our analysis, now what we want to do is we want to take these displays, move them to PyVision, see how they look. So I'm going to click the button in the lower right to migrate displays. So we're doing our best here to try to save information from any previous migrations that you've done. So in this case, the information to connect to PyVision is already saved here. And as soon as I open up this dialog, it made an attempt to connect. So similar to the other PyVision display utility plugins, we're interacting directly with the PyVision SQL server. So this utility is normally run on the PyVision server. However, we're going to also ship it separately. So if you'd like to run this utility somewhere else, if you'd like to run this utility somewhere where you have Processbook or where your Processbook users are so they can analyze their own displays, that will also be an option. So I'm connected to PyVision. The next thing I need to do is fill out a few options here. So there's a destination PyVision folder. Where would I like these displays to go? So I'm going to choose the empty PyVision demo folder. Who should be the owner of these displays? And there's a few other options here. So the next option is to persist folder structure from migrated items. What this means is that if I've chosen to analyze folders of displays, and if I select this option, what it will do is it will either create those folders in PyVision, the corresponding folders, and place the displays underneath the correct folder, or if those folders already exist, it will add those displays to the corresponding folder. Similarly, if you're using a PIW file or a Processbook file, I don't have any in this example, but those certainly will work. You can analyze them. We'll give you the analysis results on a display-by-display basis. And then if you choose to migrate them, if you check this option, this will also give you the option to preserve some of that PIW or that Processbook structure within it. So within a PIW file, you can have different levels, and you can use that to structure and organize your displays. We will preserve that in PyVision if this option is checked in the form of PyVision folders. The last option here is if you want to either skip or overwrite displays. So this is if you're trying to migrate a display, and a display with the same exact name already exists in the same folder that you're trying to migrate it to. So this allows you the option of, if for some reason you migrate a display and then you need to go back in Processbook and make adjustments, you can overwrite that display if you choose. All right, so before I do this, I meant to show you another view. So in the analysis results pane on the right-hand side, we've been looking at the summary view. There's actually another view here called a tree view. And this gives you the hierarchical folder view. And it will also show you the progress of migrating displays. So this is just what I want to highlight here. All right. So as you can see, I made some changes to this dialog. I closed it, opened it up. It's remembering where I left off. So we're still going to move displays to PyVision Demo. The target display owner is still myself, and I want to persist this folder structure. So what we should see, under the PyVision Demo folder, we should see a displays folder that then contains subfolders for process monitoring and for our SLTC building displays. And if you notice, on the right-hand side in that progress column, it updated in real time to let us know what's happening with those displays. So in this case, none of those displays existed yet on the PyVision server. So they were all migrated successfully, and we see a green text there to indicate that. If something got skipped, if something got overwritten, if something happened during the migration process, this progress column would let us know what had happened there. So, now, the moment of truth. Let's go ahead and see if we have anything here. So I still have my PyVision demo folder. I'm going to dive in. There's now a folder for displays. And under that, I have my 2 subfolders. Let's take a peek in process monitoring. As you can see, I have 16 displays here. And throughout the conference, we've been focusing on our SLTC building and how we have displays there that we use to monitor the building and the different data that we collect on the building. So just to highlight some of these displays that have come across. So you'll notice that by default, the display is fairly zoomed in. In PyVision, you have the option to fit all. And when you do that, if you save the display, it will preserve that so that I can open it up in any aspect ratio, and it will still preserve. If I can get this to work. All right. Well, Chrome doesn't want to play along with me, so just wanted to highlight that it'll save the zoom level. So every time I open it now, it'll be fit to the browser. This is another display. This is the display that we used on the illustration slide just before this, as well as a slide, a display you might have seen me use in the demo. So this is just to prove that this was a ProcessBook display. We moved it over, migrated it, and it is actually fully functioning PyVision display where I can move values, I can edit. It's just to prove that it is a real PyVision display. All right. So for the most part, these displays look pretty good. So again, what we're doing is we're migrating displays. So you may be familiar with a feature that we've had in PyVision for several years, which was the ability to import ProcessBook displays. So what we were doing there is we allow you to specify an import folder. We would look under that folder for any ProcessBook files that you have. We would import them to PyVision so that you could view them in PyVision. But this was a read-only format. So it was really nice for publishing ProcessBook displays and being able to use them on the web and see them on mobile devices. The issue was that you couldn't edit them. And so this is really our way of allowing you to move forward to PyVision so you no longer require ProcessBook, and that you have full control over these displays, and you're able to use the full features of PyVision. So we understand that this kind of migration isn't going to happen overnight. We understand that people are going to be using ProcessBook for a while. So while we are saying that this is our migration utility, we are encouraging customers who are ready to move to migrate and upgrade to PyVision. I've had this question a few times throughout the conference, so I just want to go ahead and address it here. We don't have this doesn't mean that we have a sunset plan or we have a date in mind of end of life of ProcessBook. We understand people are going to be using it for a long time to come. What we are saying is that ProcessBook is an aging tool. It's based on older technology, and we would like to provide a path forward for you to PyVision. And so that's what we're introducing in PyVision 2019. So going back into our display here, you'll notice that most things look good, but there's an area over here that has some information missing. So this is actually the display. This is our energy management overview display. And if you notice, this is one that was flagged with a data set. So again, anything that's flagged as can be partially migrated. We're still going to migrate the display, and we'll migrate it with all of the content that is able to be migrated. But in this case, what happened was everything got migrated except for the data sets. And where we were using data sets there were we had hand-built a table. PyVision doesn't have a native table symbol, so we used some lines and some value symbols and text symbols to build out a table so that we could show the value and show it next to the minimum and maximum over the time range. So again, this got migrated, but as you can see, there's certain information missing. So I'm just going to show this. This is just one example of, it's a simple use case, but sometimes you really just want to see the minimum maximum over a time range. And perhaps this is something that you're doing today in PI ProcessBook. So I'm going to delete that and see if we can replace that with some native PI Vision functionality. So this is actually the attributes that were present in that table in ProcessBook. So rather than hand building the table with lines, I'm going to use the native table symbol in PI Vision, and then filter this down to just the information that I need. All right. And I can even change the color style to go along a little bit better with the color and the theme that I have of this display. So now the table next to it looks a little bit odd, but I can easily do the same thing with that table, right? Just an example of some things that you might be doing using calculations for. Again, it's a pretty simple example, but this is one show of how there's native functionality in PI Vision that can make life easier. So rather than having to hand build out tables, or if you have calculations that are simple minimum, maximum, averages, standard deviations, these are things that can be done and can be shown easily with the native table in PI Vision. All right, so going back to our display utility, there was a report that I mentioned I would get back to. So we have this button here for view reports. We talked about the analysis report, which is that detailed report, display by display, symbol by symbol, any informational or warning messages associated with symbols. There's also a migration report. So this is useful, and this is handy for once you've done the migration, you may want a list of displays that you've migrated, along with a corresponding link to those displays in PI Vision. So for example, if I'm a PI Vision admin and I'm migrating these displays on behalf of my users, I might want a list and a report of the displays that got migrated and a link to those that I can send to my ProcessBook users so they can open up the displays in PI Vision, validate those displays, touch up those displays if there's any touch-up work or any changes that need to be made before they're ready for production use. And so that's what this report is made for. Or if I'm the display creator myself and I'm the one running the migration, I still might want this list so I can run through, see all the displays I created in PI Vision, one by one, go through and check them, have a report of what got migrated, what got overwritten, what got skipped. So those are the things that will be contained in this report, and that's how we see this report being used. Another option that's missing here is a way to quickly export VBA from displays. So we believe that will be useful for if you are using VBA heavily, or if you just want a quick view into, without having to open up every ProcessBook display, see what kind of VBA is contained in those displays so that you can make a quick call. Is this ready for migration, or do I need to go check and take a closer look to see, to investigate exactly how this VBA is used to understand if this display is ready to be migrated or not. The other thing I wanted to highlight within the utility is we have filter icons up here. So for example, you can filter based off of the issue of a reason why a display might not be, why a display got flagged. So for example, if I want to exclude anything that has VBA code, I can go ahead and do that and apply the filter, and you'll see that now the display that contained VBA is now gone. It's now been hidden, so that if, for example, you were prepared to migrate any display as long as it didn't contain VBA. So we have some filtering options there to make that easy for you to filter those and see the displays that you like to see. Similarly, you can filter by status. If, again, as Andrew said, if you just want to make a quick go through at the displays that you know are ready, if you want to filter just off of the green status and just migrate those displays, you can easily do that, select all those displays, migrate, and have them for you in PyVision. So that'll do it for the migration utility. So again, it's a plugin to the PyVision display utility. It will be distributed with PyVision. We will also have another option for you as a standalone kit. So it doesn't require you to run it on a PyVision server. You can run it elsewhere if you choose. So you have some options there. All right, so let's summarize things. All right, so Andrew gave us an introduction to PyVision. So for anyone who is not familiar with the tool or sort of why we're going in this direction, Andrew had some highlights on that. So we also covered PyVision 2019. Again, the two major features there are ad hoc trending and the one that we covered in more detail today, the PI ProcessBook migration. So with this tool, we're really looking to reduce the effort of upgrading. We know that we've had some customers who have started or maybe already gone through some of this process manually to move the displays from ProcessBook to PyVision. So we're looking to help, and we're looking to hear from you about what else we can do to help you along this path. And we have a few things in mind. Andrew mentioned some service offerings that should be coming up, as well as we'll have some documentation to go through, best practices and strategy that will cover things in a little more detail than we had time for today. So similar, I mentioned that we know that we can do more to help, but we need to understand what it is and what is at the top of your list. So specifically, we're looking for feedback on your adoption, use of PyVision, and what can we do to help you with migrating from ProcessBook to PyVision or just with your adoption of PyVision in general. So if you don't mind, it would be really helpful for us if you can take a few minutes. It should be less than 5 minutes to fill out the survey. Feel free to send it to people in your organization. We can get feedback from different parts of your organization, different departments. Again, it would be really helpful for us. And I know we're at the end of the conference. I'm sure that you've been asked for feedback from all different angles. So again, we really do look at this. We really do consider this. And this is helping us to prioritize what we're going to work on next. So in a similar light, the next slide is, so the survey is targeted feedback. We're looking for very specific feedback. Our feedback portal is what we use to help also to prioritize the work that we're going to do. This is where we hear new ideas, what we should work on next. So again, this feedback is very important as well. As a product manager, I get a digest email every day with the recent activity for the last day on the portal. I look at it every day. I'm always interested to see what's new, what are people thinking of next. So just so you know, we're actively looking at this. The feedback portal really helps us just to aggregate the data. We have everything in one place. It makes it really easy for us to reach out to you if we have questions, if we're looking for more information. If we have a beta program, we have users that we know that we can reach out to who may be interested. So again, your feedback is really important to us. Again, this is our contact information. So Andrew and myself, we'll be around at Geek Night tonight. Feel free to come up, talk to us. We'll be here for some questions. And we have a few minutes left, so we might have time for a couple questions at the end of the session. But again, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Finally, just a few housekeeping items. There are still training labs tomorrow. If anyone's sticking around, there's still signups available. If you're interested, feel free. If you'd like to join us in Sweden, we'd love to have you. So in September, we'll be in Sweden for anyone who's interested to do our European version of PyWorld. Tonight, don't forget about Geek Night, 7 p.m. I believe it'll be right here in the Grand Ballroom. Cool. All right, and with that, we have a few minutes left. We can take a couple questions if anyone has them, and then Andrew and I will stick around to answer additional questions. But yeah, thank you, everyone.
Bastian Sabora with Covestro here. Will there be a feature to actually export displays from PyVision into a file format in case we have to migrate it to a server that can't be directly connected for use with the transfer utility?
Yep. Not with PyVision 2019. It's something that we keep hearing it is a big request from our users, and we understand the advantages of it. So it's not in scope for 2019. It's one of the items that is very high on our list right now. So again, please give us your feedback and let us know where that sits in terms of priority for you. But it's something that we keep hearing, and it's something that we'd like to tackle real soon.
Hello. What's a good replacement for batch view symbols in PyVision?
Sure. So with the batch view symbol, we have a few options, but it does require migrating from batch view from batch over to event frames. So we have an event comparison display, which will provide an overlay trend and a Gantt chart, similar to what you have in batch view, as well as we have ways of viewing event details and viewing an events table on a display. So it's really the big hurdle to get over is migrating from batch to event frames. And once you're in there, we do have some options available that are similar to the offerings in batch view.
Hi, you talked about there being a kit that you could run for this migration tool.
Mm-hmm.
So say a company is looking at possibly moving to Vision, but we want to see how many of our displays would actually migrate. Is that something we could get on a trial basis just to see, to run the analysis side of it and go, yeah, this will be an easy lift for us, or no, it's going to be a big lift for us?
Mm-hmm. So on a trial version, you mean like before you actually have Vision itself, you want to run your displays?
Correct.
Okay. I don't know the specifics of that, but I assume that mainly because we haven't sort of gone through that whole process yet, but similar to the way that we do some like try and buy products, I assume that we would be able to give you that. But I don't want to confirm that because it hasn't come up yet, but it's a very good point that I could see how that could be very useful.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hello. How to migrate the .piw file? The demo was given for .pdi file only. For a display .piw having a number of displays. So how to migrate that?
I heard PIW file. Are you talking about just migrating a PIW file itself, or you also talked about a large number?
Yes, large numbers.
Hmm? Yep. So yeah, we've done testing with a large number of displays. So if you'd like to do them all in one big batch, we can support that. PIW files as well, we can support PIW files. So we'll analyze them on a display-by-display basis of the display is contained within the PIW file. That way you can see if that, specifically what's contained in that file, if anything gets flagged by the analysis utility. So we'll break that out for you, and then you can choose what you want to migrate. So if, for example, you only want to migrate a few displays that are contained within a PIW file, that's an option for you.
Hello, Patrick from Nexa Research. We already have PyVision and some units. This by 2019 when it's going to be available for us to update. Mm-hmm. And we have several units that use the SQC components, and I heard that's actually a problem for PyVision. I don't know if there's any plan for that.
Yes. So in terms of the release date, I apologize for not mentioning that. So we're on target for release by the end of June. So we're very close to release, and we should have that in your hands pretty soon. The SQC chart is an item. It's one of the highly requested items that we've seen, and we understand its importance in terms of users that are heavily using it in ProcessBook, so they can migrate to PyVision. We don't have set plans yet to incorporate that, so I can't give a timeline on when that will be implemented.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could elaborate a little bit on how the navigation works and how that is being transferred from PI ProcessBook to PyVision.
Sure. In regards to the PIW file?
Correct, yeah.
Yep. So we do something similar, actually. If you happen to import PIW files today in PyVision in the read-only format, I'm not sure if you do that or not. But what we do is, based on the levels, so what's the right terminology? Within a PIW file, you can specify the different level of displays, and it determines if they're in a tab or if they're indented within the PIW file, basically building out that structure. So we have some logic that we use to determine which levels should be considered folders. That way we can keep them organized into, and we were basically transforming that from the levels in the book format into a folder hierarchy in PyVision.
We already have the PVS license with PyVision and so on. When this 2019 releases, do we have this available, or we have to upgrade our license for that?
Nope, it'll be available. Yeah, it's included. If you have PyVision, it's included.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Some of your early slides, you showed that it's totally compatible with any browser. Is that the case, or is it the one you're showing, which is Chrome?
No, PyVision is we say it's compatible with any modern browser, but we have full support, and we do testing with Internet Explorer, Chrome, Firefox, and Safari.
So development of the screens and display both available on Edge, Chrome, Firefox.
Yes, I apologize. I failed to mention Edge, but Edge is also in that group.
One other question, the data download capability. So older versions, core site and all, we could download 1 hour, 1 minute, 1 day. Has that changed in PyVision 19?
In terms of downloading the data into a CSV or Excel file format, that's possible today. So I think there was one version in between the original core site and PyVision where there was no exporting capabilities, but the exporting capability is there, and it's back in PyVision.
At a frequency we choose, or is it a default frequency? Data sample.
Yeah, there's no, you can't specifically control the frequency. So it will use the time range that based off of the display, and there's a set frequency that it will use. Cool. Thank you very much, everyone. Again, if anyone has any other questions, Andrew and I will stick around for a little bit. But yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.